All right. Hello, everyone out there in solar land. We've got an exciting crew here with us to talk about power pairing and optimizing home solar and storage with high wattage solar modules. Joined here with Sam from Energy Sage and Eddie from Mission Solar. Let's get on into it. Before we just get started, want to show what everyone's seeing on the screen. We've got our speaker view up there. Hopefully everyone, we're coming through loud and clear. We've got a Q&A section there, so please do, as we're going, just write in your questions. We'll try to get to them during the time, and we've got a little bit of time allotted at the end of today's webinar to go through some questions. We've got our speaker info up there with contact info, both LinkedIn and emails to get a hold of us. And we've also got some related content, download and links and so forth of, again, content we're sharing today. So with that being said, let's go around the horn and do some introductions. Sam, you want to get us started?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Hey, everyone, my name's Sam. I'm an energy advisor here at Energy Sage. So I've been with Energy Sage for just a little over 3 years now. I work with customers going through their quotes here, just answering some questions about solar generally, talking over solar policy. So yeah, excited to talk with you guys all today, kind of give you some perspective that we see on the Energy Sage marketplace, talking with consumers about their options out there.
Awesome. Thanks, Sam. Eddie, how about you?
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Eddie Alberton, Western Territory Sales Manager for Mission Solar. We are the oldest manufacturing polysilicon solar module manufacturer in the United States, right out of San Antonio, Texas, for a little over a decade now. So we're excited to be here and talk about the benefits of the topic.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. Greg?
All right. Well, my name is Greg Smith. I'm the Global Director of Learning here at Tigo and been doing this a long time. Started out in 2008 with SMA, then went to Asana, and now I'm at Tigo. Just super stoked. I love these multi-presenter webinars that we do. So it gives us a chance to talk to our partners and just kind of feel the industry out. And everybody's got something new that they can contribute. So I am looking forward to this one.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. And I'm Mike Gazzano. I'm North America Marketing Manager here at Tigo. Been on board for about a little over 4 years, but in total about 15 years in the renewable space and energy efficiency. Echo what Greg said. Happy to have all of us here to discuss, get some dialogue going, and get some education out to everyone out there. So with that being said, our agenda today, we're going to go a little quickly over just kind of some overviews. Here were companies we're all representing. And then we'll get into some of the trend lines that we're seeing, the higher wattage modules that are coming, increasing battery storage rates, clipping in there. And then last but not least, we'll get into a little Q&A, time permitting. Just a high-level view, overview of Tigo. We've been in business since 2007 here, headquartered in Silicon Valley. We are a leader in module-level power electronics, or MLPE, also a full energy storage solution provider. Tens of millions of units across all 7 continents. That's right, 7 continents. Each of these Tigo leafs out there is representing installations of ours. So, I mean, we say 7 continents all the way down to Antarctica. We've got some going on there. We're monitoring over 1.5 gigawatt hours of daily PV production at the module level. And we span, any facets there of solar in the residential, commercial, utility, and scales. And then we're listed on NASDAQ. Been having fun with that since, I think it was 23. And really, we try to say in Tigo that we're offering kind of a one-stop shop solution, nestled right in between the solar modules and the grid. We've got our MLPEs and optimizers and rapid shutdown that we came on the map for. Then in the middle there, we've got our EI residential and Go ESS residential solutions, inverters, batteries, and automatic transfer switches. And then really to kind of pull that all together is our energy intelligence monitoring platform that helps on viewing all the way down to the module level. But then on an installer side, it's your commissioning app as well, all bundled together.
Awesome.
Sam,
Thanks, Mike. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Get into Energy Sage. Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with us, maybe partners with us. But yeah, Energy Sage is an online marketplace. We've been online since 2012. We work in all 50 states now. What we do is provide a platform to connect qualified shoppers with solar installers that have been vetted, for quality. So yeah, we've had over 1 million shoppers served. We're the #1 trafficked website for electrification online. And so we want to be a place where we can connect you as an installer with a customer that we've pre-vetted, looking at satellite imagery and all of that to make sure that they're a qualified lead, and from there they can get several quotes from installers to compare and comparison shop. So yeah, like I said, we're across the country here. On average, consumers get a little more competitive quote, and it allows installers to get in touch with qualified leads and cut down on that sales acquisition cost.
Yeah, what I like about what you guys do, and you said it, you promote vetted installers, because our industry is really suffering from these solar bros, and I love that people can come to you guys and get a straight shooting quote for an EPC or installer that is vetted, like they're going to do good work, so homeowners won't have to be stranded 5-10 years down the road.
Exactly. No, thanks for adding that too, Greg. Yeah, that is exactly the idea, right? We go through that so customers can feel confident going forward with an installer through Energy Sage. It's got kind of that second, stamp of approval, right, from a third party. And that's what I do as an advisor too. I talk with them every day. So I reach out to everyone that makes an account. We get assigned those leads. So we try to have a conversation, talk about what makes the installers unique, help them through that process, educate them about what the materials are, the benefits, the pros and cons, and help move forward through that process. Yeah, and this is just another slide too, kind of again touching on the two-sided nature of the marketplace, right? Like Greg said, we've got our vetted installers on one side, so we've looked at making sure been in business for a couple of years, good reviews, right financials, sort of like insurance certifications, and those you're getting in touch with customers that again we vetted their leads, making sure the roof is appropriate for solar, it's not overly shaded, they've got the right electrical needs there. And so just, kind of putting those two in touch to hopefully help connect people with their best options there. We also, do a lot of storage as well attached to solar. We do heat pumps and EV chargers too at some marketplaces.
Yeah, you guys have really expanded into the whole electrification sides there for residential. An awesome resource.
Yeah, definitely more to come there.
Oh, well, looks like it's me. So yeah, Mission Solar. As I mentioned before, we are a US-based solar panel manufacturer. We've been in business working out of the same facility in Texas for over a decade. We are currently still the oldest polysilicon wafer manufacturing solar module manufacturer in the US. So we are here for the long haul. We are dedicated to the industry. We don't do anything but solar modules. So we know what we're good at. We stick to our lane. Some unique things about Mission, other than being the oldest in the industry right now, we actually also own 85% of the world's non-Chinese polysilicon manufacturing, which allows us to be in complete control of our supply chain from raw goods all the way through finished product. So in the turmoil of our industry right now with DEOC and AD/CVD issues, working with Mission, that you are getting a product that is made in the USA with complete traceability of all aspects of our products, giving you and your customers the security of knowing that you have a product that was built to last.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Eddie.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into this. So we want to get into some, I think, some trend lines to start us off. We get to leverage some of the awesome data that Energy Sage pulls together in their annual, or well, not annual, but Intel reports twice a year. So let's jump right into it. So really kind of coming from where the webinar ideas and everything was birthed from is this trend of the increasing module wattage. out there. To quote right there from Energy Sage and the Intel reports, only about 14% of included solar panels were rated below 400 watts in the second half of 24. I tried to go back in a little bit of history, and almost 10 years ago in 2015, average modules were in the neighborhood of about 267 watts. So, I mean, you always like to see those graphs, I guess, kind of go up and to the right. And this one, those module size wattages are just skyrocketing.
And that may be common knowledge, right, to installers and EPCs and, people who are in the industry. But for homeowners, they may not really understand. They may not even know, why these larger modules matter and why the trend line keeps going up and to the right. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to relate why these trend lines matter. Well, not just to homeowners, but to everybody.
And I think also discussing that there's a balance, right? That there's a balance between these high wattage modules and the ability to really maximize roof space. So it's not just always bigger is better, but there is a fine line between finding that wattage class and that size that works to benefit at the end of the day more power off the roof.
Absolutely.
Right. Then the next trend we're seeing, I think everyone's been kind of seeing out there, is there's the growing battery adoption. And again, pulled from the Energy Sage Intel report, seeing that customers in their quotes out there is jumped to 45% now attachment rate, more than doubling year over year. I mean, certainly I think out here in my neck of the woods, California, I think we might have started that and a little bit there with the NEM changes and everything else. And maybe I don't say California the leader, but as you see things move throughout the country inwards and across, but at the same time, you've got the weather events out there and points for resiliency there and maybe unreliable grids and so forth. It's no longer just slapping some modules there up on the rooftop and say being done with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask if anybody out there could kind of piece together why we have such this huge increase in attachments rates starting at that period. And yeah, Mike, you nailed it. Like the NEM 3.0, it rattled everybody. And a lot of people, particularly in California, like they left. Like there were a lot of installation companies that left because they couldn't focus on that lowest dollar per watt or the lowest dollar per kilowatt hour or the lowest ROI, that magic 3 to 5 years. And so they took off, and there's still a lot of business to be made in places where we had these antagonistic utility companies, right? Like, so these guys left California where it's like 50 cents a kilowatt hour, and they took off to Nevada where it's 13 cents a kilowatt hour. Like that made no sense to me. Like there's still a lot of opportunity in these places where you may not have a lot of incentives, and kind of what's on the back of our mind now, since we will be losing the 30% tax credit. The companies that are able to pivot and be able to pair solar and storage are the ones that are going to make it.
100%, Greg. Yeah, to back that up too. I mean, we definitely saw that on Energy Sage with the quotes people uploading. I know sometimes it feels like the sky might be falling a little bit with the tax credits ending here, but solar is still a great investment in California, and the solar installers are still doing really well there. That we're able to pivot and look at adding batteries and kind of viewing it as more of a whole home electrification system, right? More holistically, and I think we'll see the same thing. Electricity rates are going to keep going up. There's always going to be a need for solar here. That's not going away.
Absolutely. And it's a mind shift, right? And so people have been trained and indoctrinated into, I want money from the utility company for the energy that I put into the grid. Well, you have to reverse that. Instead of getting money from the utility, you're not paying them as much, which is it's just the inverse, but it's the same kind of thing, you get more money in your pocket, or you save more money by pairing these two together.
Oh, excellent. And I think, Sam, it's like we practiced this or something, but I think you had it queued up right there. We've got the rising utility rates there as well, kind of driving a lot of this. And again, going back to the storage side of things. But I mean, really, you're looking at, energy, electric rates, 5% per year over the last 4 years. I mean, that is substantial. I mean, seeing the headlines that, people are families and consumers that are making sacrifices. Well, we got to keep the lights on, but there's something else that's needing to be cut, whether it's something at the grocery store or wherever possible, trying to cut it. So going back that again, I think to the storage adoption, investing in the system at home, then yeah, again, it's keeping money in the pocket, or you're not pulling and not seeing that bill come through in the mail. I always like to say, kind of saying, it's like you're almost trying to go off grid and step away from the power company, yet you're there. It's there as a little bit of a backup if you need it, but trying to be self-sufficient as much as you can.
And I think that it bears saying that, that 5% over the last 4 years on a national average is about double what we've seen in the past as far as annual inflation. And, that's a fraction in California and some of the other high electricity states. We've seen 20 and 30% annual increases in electricity. So on the very conservative side, we're just building this story and this justification for this solar storage combination to really set ourselves apart and give ourselves protection and budgetability, really, for the families at the end of the day.
To your point, Mike, I don't care how expensive electricity rates get. I am not giving up my Cocoa Puffs. Not doing it.
You're sticking with name brand, huh?
That's right.
All right. Okay. Next we get into is what we like kind of call the clipping tax. This data and the previous data we actually pulled from what Tigo had published, what we called the micro inverter tax. I believe I've got the link up there for you in the downloadable content. Well, let's jump right into it. Previously I think kind of we said again, but between module sizes and everything there, it was get some solar up on the rooftop. But now trying to, again, maximize and get the most bang for your buck there, covering all facets and angles up on the rooftop, ultimately trying to track that sun and produce that energy constantly throughout the day. And that will help with NEM. But at the same time, when you're getting into some of the equipment on on a DC coupled or an AC coupled system, can really make a difference at the end of the day with the power production. So, I mean, quick education on knowing a lot of installers out there, but again, maybe this is something that can bring to the kitchen table and talk with the consumers out there exactly what is clipping. It's when the power output from the solar module exceeds the maximum capacity that the microinverter can convert into AC power. So here we're going to take a look at standard testing conditions of a 425 watt module there on the left. But if it's paired with a 325 microinverter, right off the bat, again under STC, 100 watts are immediately going to be clipped. So you're doing, and span this across a rooftop, multiple sides of the rooftop there. This can be, pretty substantial power losses. And I don't know, Eddie, I think you were telling me, in the neighborhood of, you could be almost losing a full module, give or take, depending on, or even maybe more, depending on the installation.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to jump in quick, just to go over that. So, for example, the new Mission 435 watt TopCon module that is being released in Q4, that at an STC nameplate 435, realistically, real world, we're going to lose about anywhere from 10 to 15% of wattage output on that, which puts us at about a 391 watt output. If you're looking at your typical microinverter, that is going to probably max out at around 349 watts per module in a clipping situation. So right off the bat, you are taking away the opportunity for that customer to get 41 additional watts out of each module. So if we're just at a very small array of 10 modules, we've lost the power of up to one whole module on a 10 panel array because we didn't take advantage, or the installer didn't take advantage of all of the power that we put into making that module. Our goal as a module manufacturer is to maximize the amount of power per square foot we can fit into a module. So us doing our job, getting you the opportunity to use that power, now it's up to you, the installer, to really figure out how are you going to take advantage of all of the R&D and technology we put into that in front of you.
Yeah, it's like putting a restrictor plate, on a car's carburetor. Like, you're never going to be able to get that car up. They do it at NASCAR all the time. Those cars will push way up there in high speeds, but they put a restrictor plate on there. Car can't go as fast. And when you're using a microinverter that has a smaller wattage rating than what the module is, that's essentially what you're doing. You're putting a restrictor plate on it.
Yeah, and even worse than that, and I think we talk about this a lot in our industry, we really do want to put our customers first, and we want to bring our customers value. And how can we honestly bring the best value to our customer if we're selling them a 4.35 watt system, but we know we're never going to get, that much power out of it? They're never going to have the opportunity to get that much power out of it. So if we want to do what's right, we need to give them the ability to take advantage of every watt that is capable of being produced on any given day.
I would bet you a bottle of 20-year-old Michter's whiskey that conversation probably does not come up in microinverter sales conversations with the homeowner.
I will guarantee that is the case. No one wants to tell somebody what they're selling them is not what they're getting.
No, I think that kind of comes into. Oh, Sam, please jump in.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just going to add on to that. Yeah, the consumer education aspect of that. Like you said, like bringing this kind of information to the dining room table when we're talking with consumers, when I'm talking with customers on the phone about that is so important. Like, there's a caveat to everything here when you're looking at panel size and microinverters. Like, let's dig into what, you might be losing with that. What is the output of this inverter? And some people may not even think to look at that, but on Energy Sage, it does show the inverter, and we have a spec page for all that info. So people tend to look into that and they say, hey, I'm starting to notice these two numbers aren't matching up, and that happens fairly frequently.
And that, my comment was not directed at Energy Sage. I know you guys are pro. I'm not trying to make anybody mad, but generally speaking, generally outside of organizations like you guys, probably doesn't come up much.
No, 100%. Yeah.
Well, I would think and hope too that the consumers out there are, really investing their time and energy in researching into these systems too. I mean, these are heavy investments. So before, maybe it was before, hey, I just got, I'm going green. I got to do it and put something up on my rooftop. Well, now, I got to maximize the space. I got to think about the technology going up there. And if you got multiple vendors coming your way or you got to fight for everything out there. You want to take a look at what your hard-earned dollars are really going towards for your investment.
And Energy Sage is a great place to go for customer education. Like, they've got a lot of good stuff here, a lot of articles and blogs and things like that. There is one resource I'm particularly drawn toward, and that's the Amazon best-selling book called The Battery Powered Home that talks about all this stuff. I highly recommend it.
I think I've met that author before a couple times in passing. I can't recall.
Yeah.
Go figure. Speaking of a great resource is Reddit. If you want to ever go down a rabbit hole on any topics, I'm sure you can, and spend hours upon hours reading through it. But here we just kind of jumped into solar and looking at clipping. So you've got and this is maybe again where some consumers, after they've got their system in, they're rocking and rolling with it, they're looking at it, it's like, wait a minute, it's not producing what I paid for, and you're not seeing that top of the production curve. Suddenly you're just getting a flat line and chopped off, and ultimately you're looking at the clipping. So a great little exchange here. Please explain clipping to me. Your inverter hit its max output. Drop the mic in thread. That's what you've got. I mean, it's just visual. It's right there for you.
And we're not bagging on microinverter companies. That's not the intent of this. Not at all. I mean, it's a great resource. It's a great application where it fits. We're just trying to kind of open the kimono a little bit, maybe talk about things that most people won't.
Yeah, and I think that I think to back that up, it's just saying, like, let's take the time as installers and salespeople to make sure that we're pairing things properly. Like microinvert, if we're pairing that said microinverter with a 360 watt module, we're probably living in a great place that's doing the right thing for the customer, right? But as with this seminar is building around, we see that we're pushing the wattage of our modules as well as the size, but we're still not keeping up with the microinverter side to be able to handle all of that power.
No, great point, Eddie. Great point. I think another way than just looking at the production curve in an app is look at the stack of money here. If you're looking at some clipping over the lifetime of a system, taking into some assumptions there in the left as far as size and electricity rates and so forth over a 25-year project life. I mean, you're flat topping that stack of money there, and that, I mean, again, is hard-earned dollars that maybe you can't buy Cocoa Puffs this month or something like that. But go for the store brand. But I mean, it's out there now. Again, it's every system's different, and I think again, it's the education, right? It's the installer. It's our jobs to educate the end user and the consumers what's going to be their best bang for their buck and best for their investment.
Yeah, I need that stack of money back. I loaned that to you just for that photo shoot.
Yeah, I'll get right on. I'll get right on that. Yes. Yeah. So here's a clip of a system from the Tigo Universe in our EI platform out in Idaho, 14.4 system, and we're seeing the daily energy production there. What's nice too is the system has our optimizers on it, so the darker green bars are the main source of energy production, and the lighter green bars is what we have as our reclaimed energy, and this is where the optimizers are kicking in and are able to help harness and pull some additional energy production out of those modules. Maybe it might be some module irregularities, maybe some shading, something's going on out there, and it's just able to, again, just truly optimize the modules in the overall system. But if we're looking into using some micros on an AC coupled system, we'd be clipping in a couple different spots. So either here with some 300 watt micros, bringing it down to a 9.6, maybe even a 360 micro, then 11 and a half. Over $10,000 could be clipped away from someone's investment out on their system potentially. That's no small chunk of change. I'm not sure if it's that stack of money of yours, Greg, or not, but it's close, man. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I like that reclaimed energy because it shows you how much more energy that those optimizers are harvesting. Right now, module level components don't make more energy. That's a common misconception. They don't make more, they recover more. They recover part of what was lost. And so that's what we mean by reclaimed energy. We're just showing you the actual amount hour by hour here, or minute by minute if you wanted to get that granular, of what the little optimizers are recovering from shading and soiling and mismatch and all those other things that happen.
Yeah. I'm going to, if I could just jump in there real quick, because I think it's also, as we're talking about the clipping, I think that a lot of things are also overlooked in regards to the pairing of these microinverters with modules. Is that if we look at most module manufacturers, but I will speak for Mission, that on our 435 watt module, we have a -0 +3% wattage output, right? So that is, if I'm looking at most suggestions with microinverter companies and I'm pairing a 435 with whatever they say is the correct microinverter to reduce the clipping as much as possible, that we're actually, that's the bare minimum. On a 435 with a +3%, you know, we could be well above 440, 445 watts per module. So that's even more lost power that we are not even giving the opportunity, and we're not taking into account when we're trying to make these pairings. So again, I think that we really want to take away, and the focus of this whole thing is, how do we maximize every potential watt out of every module that we're putting on a person's roof? And these small little increments of details that I think a lot of us just overlook are really important to bring to the attention of this group of people listening. Because again, we talk about bare minimums, the actuality of those numbers could be substantially higher when we multiply them over 10, 15, 20, 30 modules per array, per home.
Oh, that's great, Eddie. Thank you for that. So here's another one, looking at some conversion losses with an AC coupled. So we've gone from, seeing those trend lines, the higher wattage modules into the batteries, then battery storage adoption and some clipping. Well, now there's potential for even more losses in the conversion. So if you're going in with an AC coupled system versus a DC coupled system. So again, kind of educating the consumers out there that if you have an AC coupled system, you're looking at about 3 conversions, I think, if you're right, up on the rooftop at the module level, then down to into the battery, and then back out into the home again. Versus then say a DC optimized or DC coupled system, we'd be looking at 1 conversion there at the inverter. And then I think another side to it, and Greg, I don't know if you want to jump in on this, is then if there is still some of that excess additional energy that's made that goes beyond the nameplate of the inverter, on an AC coupled system, it would be a loss. It's getting dropped, it's gone. But in a DC coupled battery system, that excess power, now that can go straight to the battery, and you're able to again harness that and utilize it there at the home.
Yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this before we went live, and in my experience, homeowners will use every watt hour that you give them. They just will, and then they'll try to use more. And so the more energy you can shove in those batteries throughout the day, the better off you're going to be, whether you're off grid or whether the grid is down, or whether you're using these grid up modes like time of use and you're just trying to offset a particular, high peak time of day, or if you're in self-consumption where you're trying to use as much of your own energy as you can to offset your utility bills. That DC coupling just allows more kilowatt hours to be used instead of being thrown away.
Yeah, it's a great point. It definitely touches in the way we're just using batteries differently too, right? These days, like in California, it's switching from something that was sort of like an emergency generator back up to something that you're deploying every day. So the efficiency losses, like you're talking about with the multiple conversions, it's like death by 1,000 cuts there in all the ways that consumers losing energy that they should be gaining from the production of the panels that is going to loss in efficiency or clipping that's costing them money,
Absolutely. The net metering that went away really forced people to look at different ways to use batteries. And I would have lost this bet 10 years ago if you'd have told me that people would install a battery inverter and batteries, but no automatic transfer switch. So they're only using it for a grid up time of use or a self-consumption scenario. They don't want backup. The power doesn't go out in their area very often. And when it does, it's probably, well, like the one I had here this morning, power was out for 3 seconds, right? And so they can save some money by not buying the transfer switch, focus on just the batteries and then the inverter, which will convert everything. And that suits their needs. And it's a crazy application, but it works.
Okay. So, pulling a little bit more out of it here, and referencing again, a nice picture there of the Energy Sage's marketplace report. The latest one came out here just earlier this year in the spring. The shift is happening. Those higher wattage modules are coming. I don't know, Eddie, if you want to jump in, like where you guys saw that trend starting to go, when it was happening or what, and Sam, if you got anything you want to jump in with as well.
So I think that as I mentioned earlier in this training, that I think that there's a balance in wattage output as well as module size, and I think that is where Mission has put a lot of focus. Really, as I said earlier, our job as a solar panel manufacturer is quite simple. We need to manufacture a product that puts the most power per square foot on the roof. And what we have tended to see in the marketplace is that the wattages has gone up. That is also the size of the module has gone up in relation to the wattage increase. Runs into some design issues. If we add 4 inches to a module to get a higher wattage output, that may eliminate the ability to add a 3rd row to one roof plane. So now we're adding additional arrays, additional conduit runs, more labor costs, and we're actually reducing the amount of power we're getting on that single array. So what Mission is really focused on is pushing our wattage classes up while keeping the footprint the same as our previous modules in the 410 watt class. So we're trying to keep the design, the engineering in a place, as well as the installers, the guys that are lugging these modules on the roof, carrying them up ladders, carrying sails basically in their hands as they're trying to move around a roof that could be 20, 30, 40 feet off the ground. So, finding that balance for us between high wattage output as well as footprint has always been very important. And I think that that's, what has really pushed our growth and the real demand we're seeing in our, what I will call, a medium wattage at this point module. But I think there's a lot of benefits for that.
No, I think that's a great point too on the sizing, right? Because large wattage panels have always been available. Like you get like a 500 watt commercial panel for a ground install or something, but it's getting it efficient enough with the size to make sense to put on your roof, right? And making the best use of that roof space. And I definitely talk about that with people as well too when we're looking at the panels. They're talking about the wattage size, but what's the dimensions on this? Can I get this on my roof if it's so big? Is it going to limit the ways that I can place these panels on my roof if I've got kind of unique dimensions, dormers, and that sort of stuff? And I think too, to just add on to the rise in panel size, it's just kind of restating this quote you had here, Mike, in a different way, but from our Intel report, we had even in H2 of 2024, 33% of quotes included solar panels with rated outputs above 450 watts, which was up from 1% in H2 of 2023. It's just, again, another way to demonstrate kind of that rise we're seeing in output on Energy Sage, and I think the market in whole.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, guys. I think it was perfect timing. We just got a shout out, seen some questions come through. Thanks, guys. I think this one's not a question, but just a shout out there saying thank you for thinking of the installers and the module size out there. Completely correct about the thoughts of panel size and problems with them getting larger and going up the ladders or what it may be. I know my knees start shaking just when I'm putting up the Halloween lights or the Christmas lights, let alone getting up on the rooftop with all this equipment and everything. So you installers, you guys are fighting the good fight out there.
Yeah,
all right.
Sorry, Mike. If anybody's going to RE Plus here in Vegas here in a couple months, walk around the floor and look at those modules. Last year, I was looking at some 600 watt, 620 watt modules. I couldn't barely get my arms from side to side on the width, and then I couldn't even touch the top of the module, right? So yeah, everybody wants these large power modules, but man, when you think of the installers who have to schlep those things up, they start having to use specialized equipment and elevators and things like that, which for commercial or utility scale, that's probably not a big deal. They probably already have that stuff anyway to expedite the installation. But for residential, I mean, look at that roof right there. That would just be a huge load of suck, man, having to load some modules up on that pitch roof that are so big you can't even really grab a hold of them.
Yeah, and again, what I'd like to just continue to support this is that what we've seen from the manufacturing side is a rush to reduce manufacturing costs, right? It's been a very competitive market. So what we've seen a lot of manufacturers do is they've gone to thinner 2.7 millimeter glass. They've gone from 35 millimeter, 40 millimeter frames to 30 millimeter frames. So if we're reducing the structural integrity of our modules by going with thinner glass and thinner frames, but yet we're increasing the surface area of these modules, how are we going to keep that in a sturdy, rigid, reliable form factor? And I think that that's why we're seeing more and more discussions in the industry about module integrity, module reliability, and the failures of them is because we're trying to push one direction for wattage while reducing manufacturing costs. And those two don't go together very well. So,
I'll tell you one thing,
So I was just saying, again, that's another thing that we're always taking into account when we're designing admission and making sure that we're still using 3.2 millimeter glass, we're still using 35 millimeter frames, we're still using aluminum corner key inserts to make sure that our modules are built not for today's climate, but the climate 25 and 30 years from now.
I was going to say, one thing you can do to increase the structural integrity of the modules out in the field is stop walking on them.
that might help.
No, I think speaking of walking around RE Plus, I think that's how I met you, Eddie, about a year and a half ago or so at a CALSA event, the California Solar and Storage Association. We were at a happy hour meetup here in the Bay. I was at a brewery, and I don't know, I probably had at least one in my system or two, and walked up to you, and I probably can't mention the word live here on the webinar. I was like, dang, man, those are some large modules. Now, I think we're looking at, you had a representation of a commercial module up there as well as a residential, but it's one thing to see it in RE Plus where everything's just kind of the booths and everything around you, large convention center, but just in the back of a brewery enjoying a beverage and seeing those modules up close and personal too. I mean, yeah, they are large. Well, I think all of that's a good segue. Eddie, your show, buddy.
Well, like I said, a lot of this we've just briefly discussed, but we believe that bigger is not always better. Power per square foot is really the guiding light for what we want to do behind building a very reliable, robust module that everybody can feel good about where it came from and the workload that it's going to handle for the next 30, 40 years. As we mentioned, as the modules get bigger, we're trying to keep everything the same size. What that allows us to do is work with your engineering team so that you don't have to re-engineer, redesign when we do a module upgrade. So re-permitting and everything becomes a lot easier, and we can look to save you a bunch of money, and ideally, again, minimizing the number of arrays on a roof that we need to access to achieve the power output that homeowner requires. With a bigger module, like I said, if we lose a third row on one particular roof aspect, we now have to do conduit runs over to a new array. We potentially have different power losses because of different azimuths, and you know, just a lot more work. So more power per square foot, cleaner arrays, easier engineering, easier design, with a U.S. manufactured product. That's really what we're about, why we've been here for over a decade, why we have the reputation that we do. Quite often I get asked why Mission, and I simply say, you know, I'll let the product, I can sound like a salesperson, but I'm gonna let the product speak for itself. You're gonna be pretty hard pressed to have anybody in the industry that's worked with our equipment over the last decade have many bad things to say about it. And that's why we continue to be here doing what we do and stay in our lane, focusing on making quality solar modules. $435, our new module. This is starting to ship in September. It is a new TopCon, so we have now validated and verified that this technology is worthwhile moving forward. We've made sure that it will last the test of time. We've increased our production warranty on this to 30 years. And to answer the first question that came in, this product will contain over 6% domestic content when it launches. So it will be viable for all markets, as really what we think bridging the gap between the uncertainty of TPO and cash deals in 2026. We think this product is priced perfectly to be able to be the one go-to module, regardless of how you're installing, whether it's cash or TPO. So we're really excited about it. And like I said, we got all this extra power, all these additional benefits crammed into the same footprint as our old 410 perk. Yep. And then the last part, we do flash test every module, which is somewhat unique in the industry. We put that flash test data on every single pallet with every single serial number so that you can see exactly what those modules are flashing at. And with our -0 +3% wattage output on our modules, I can tell you in real world data, which you can validate on our pallets, we are getting about 5 to 12 additional watts per panel, which is free power to our installers and free power to the homeowner, assuming that it's paired properly and you're giving access to all that power to those homeowners.
Oh, that's the perfect segue then. We'll jump into the Tigo family MLPE. Greg, you want to jump on this one?
Yeah, just real quick. So I see a few comments, questions in the Q&A. One from David that I want to address here in a minute. But looking at all of our MLP module level power electronics, we start on the left and go to the right. And as you can see, as you go from left to right, you just keep adding more and more features and higher ratings for the products. And so we have a group that is monitored. In other words, you can get that module level monitoring from it, but we also have the orange stickered TS4s that are only for rapid shutdown. So if you only want to do rapid shutdown, NEC 69012 compliance, and you don't need all the module level monitoring, then you can go with the Fs. We only make one optimizer. Some people think that these are all optimizers. Only the yellow stickered products, the O, is our optimizer. And so what we've done here with this, broad product line here is take features away that are applicable to your application. And of course, once you take things away, it gets a little cheaper. But after being at Tigo for 4 years, I can really see the benefits of module level monitoring. Instead of just, compliance, you can add some real value to your customers if you do add this monitoring aspect. And not every module needs an optimizer. And I know that sounds crazy coming from a guy who works for an optimizer company, but it's true. Just like not every module needs a microinverter. And this is speaking directly to David's comments, which I'll get more into, but the module level stuff just made people kind of put modules in places where they really shouldn't be. Right? We got a lot of installs where there's actual like trees hanging over the array. Like that's asinine. Like you'll never see the return on those modules, but people think, oh, I got this module level thing. I can do whatever I want and I'll be okay. And that's just not the case. But anyway, we have a product for every part of your application. If you need optimization for shaded modules, if you don't, then you can use the red sticker ones, the S. That's about it for that one, Mike.
Awesome. I love it. I'd say too, I think the flexibility side in there as well, hearing about different, maybe this device only goes up to so much wattage, or it's made for residential, it's made for commercial. No, these devices are interchangeable on that aspect, which is awesome. And we didn't even touch into the X series there. I know probably a majority of folks on this call maybe say are in the residential space. Some might dabble into the light commercial and maybe beyond, but we've got our X series there that gets up into even higher wattage. Like you said, Greg, too, it's the functionality side of it. But this again is we can pair these up with the Mission modules out there, other manufacturers' modules out there. It's not a closed ecosystem, if you will, compared to say maybe some AC coupled systems out there. All right, and then I think to bring us home, if you do want to have everything there in the Tigo world, like we said earlier to start off the webinar, we've got our optimizers there on the left, but then we've got our own line of storage ready hybrid inverters, a 3.8 to a 7.6, and then all the way up to an 11.4 kilowatt. We've got our EI battery there. And then, as Greg mentioned too, from past before experiences and installations, maybe not installing a transfer switch to jump in when the power goes out and so forth. We've got a couple different models and variations of our transfer switch there to help you out with some select or whole home backup, and even a unit that is able to directly take a connection from a generator as well. So if you're really looking kind of at a beefy system and a robust system out there, we've got you kind of covered on all aspects in the residential space. And then kind of tying that all together is the Tigo Energy Intelligence platform that's on the monitoring side, looking to it real time. What's the system doing, whether it's the fresh install and want to see everything happening, to going back in history. And like you said, maybe it was a tree, maybe there was a weather event, something that happened and the energy production's not what it was. Go back in time and take a look at it, whether it be in your hands on your mobile device or sitting at the desk on the big screen. All right. Well, I think that kind of concludes it for right now. We can get into some Q&A. There's some awesome questions coming through. Yeah,
I wanted to talk about, just real quick. And again, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just providing an antithesis point of view, right? So when Enphase came out, I was at SMA, and of course SMA did everything, fight tooth and nail against micros. I helped create most of the argumentation against them. And I'm not saying that micros are bad. They have their purpose, just like everything does. But one of the common things that I hear about, one of them is, well, string inverters have this higher PV start voltage, and it's true. Ours is 80 volts for Tigo. That's pretty dang low. Some other companies are up around 120, 140 for residential inverters, okay? And that is true. My argument against that would be, okay, so a micro starts up at 16 volts or whatever it is. I mean, those modules aren't really that efficient anyway. And certainly the microinverter will not be efficient trying to convert 8, 10, 12 watts, right? But again, the counter argument is, well, Greg, you just said a little while ago that every watt hour counts, and that's true. So I don't even regard that startup voltage, because when you look at micro systems versus string inverter systems over the course of a year, that PV start voltage is noise. The signal to noise ratio on that is so small that I don't even regard that argument. However, one very good argument is the redundancy aspect that microinverters provide over a string inverter. And so the argument is, well, if a string inverter or a central inverter goes down, the entire array is down, okay? And that's true. Whereas on a micro inverter application, if one micro goes down, you still have all this other power, okay? But just kind of being the pessimistic, grumpy old man that I am, I would wager that microinverter companies are not running out there as soon as a microinverter goes down. And I know they don't, because I have a lot of buddies in this industry, and they wait until 3, 4, 5 of them go down, and then they go out. And that's not doing the homeowner any good. Now, luckily for micros and string inverters, the reliability rates are in the high 90th percentile. And a lot of companies, not all of them, but a lot of them can get a replacement string inverter out there pretty quick. So it's like, do you want to lose 2 days of production, or do you want to consistently lose these multiple days of production over time using micros, right? So it's, I can argue it either way, but those are very good points, and they're very salient issues to consider when you're looking at either micro or string applications.
And to back you up on that one, I will say that based on the question that I was reading, I think that obviously called out one particular manufacturer. The beauty of working with an optimized system like Tigo is that you are agnostic, and we know of really good string inverters companies that are reliable, that have come a long ways. Back when micros came out, we were 1, maybe 2 MPPTs. Now we have beautiful string inverters with 4 MPPTs. And, you know, you can really find that string inverter fit with the reliability, the functionality you're looking for, without having to give up that optimization that allows us to really get all of that power available.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, don't let one bad experience, you know, ruin your perception on one particular technology. Right? There's people that use both technology, well, all 3 technologies, right? They'll use micros, they'll use string inverters with our stuff, and then they'll use, you know, Solar Edge, because they have their own architecture, right? So I know companies that use all 3 of those, and that's just the portfolio they have. It's not a bad thing, but I would just, you know, don't let one manufacturer or architecture or product kind of put a bad taste in your mouth about that particular type of topology. They're all good.
Well, I think that's awesome. I think what we're trying to come through on this webinar was the education side for everyone out there. Is there a one size fits all shoe out there in the world? No, everything's going to be different. And again, we said, hey, there's a spot where some lower wattage modules work, and perfect sunshine, perfect, no shade blockage, no nothing. Great. Okay. Well, there's other areas that it's like we said, every square inch, every square foot is needed to maximize the system out there. You know, between the manufacturers, the sales, the energy advisors out there in the world, bringing that education to the kitchen table. I always say kitchen table. Sam, I heard you always say dining room table, so maybe I got to change that up a little bit. But it's the same thing, maybe dual purpose. Bring that on home. You know, again, to educate these consumers that times have changed. You know, that big stack of money may not quite be there much what it was before for these larger investments for the systems.
Yeah. And I appreciate all the questions we have about, you know, hey, how is Tigo different than brand X or brand, you know, Y and Z? And that's a deeper conversation than what we can get to in this forum. So if you have those kind of questions, Mike, can you provide like a link or something, a resource where they can talk to Mission or Energy Sage or Tigo about these?
Exactly. No, good, Greg. Good segue here for wrapping this thing up. So, I mean, we've got a couple different ways. There'll be a follow-up email after this webinar. But right now, too, there's our contact information on the screen. All four of us there, whether hit us up by email or LinkedIn. I think I was looking down at my phone a couple different times and saw a couple LinkedIn messages already come through. So that's awesome. But we're here for you. And if there's any questions that we didn't get to, we'll follow up after this in a timely fashion. But I think we just got a little bit of time. I wanted to leave it with gentlemen. Any parting words?
Well, I guess I see a couple questions. So Mateo, please do reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to answer those questions offline with you and help you feel comfortable. But I just, from a Mission's perspective, you know, we do a lot of work to make sure that we put a quality product that has the most technology in it that we can get to you, and we want to help you be successful. We want to help you support U.S. workers and U.S. manufacturing. So please, if you haven't worked with us, reach out. Let's have a discussion. If you have worked with us but you've gone away, let's have another engaging conversation. But I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. Obviously, I think that all of us working together as an industry is how we are going to continue to grow in the new era. It is not the death of what we do. It is just another rebirth. And if we do it right and we look at all of these intricate details that in the past a lot of people have just overlooked, I think we can really build something special for the homeowners, really build value, and all be very successful.
Awesome. Yeah, jump in. No, I just want to say thanks, to everyone for having me here today. Mike, Eddie, Greg, and everyone for attending. And I think, just from the Energy Sage side, like the consumer education, again, people don't know what they don't know, in a lot of cases, and bringing up stuff like, clipping loss and, efficiency in batteries and, panel efficiency. One thing too, I just wanted to touch on from what you said earlier there, Eddie, about the Mission panels, but it's like, having your own supply line for your materials moving forward, being manufactured in the U.S., like those are questions we get every day too about, is this equipment going to be around in the future for warranties? So that reliability is something people think about. So yeah, being able to just speak to that, once customers get more educated, they start asking for things like, power level optimizers and, all of that kind of equipment. So if you're interested, also, if you're not partnered with Energy Sage, interested in what we do, I would say definitely reach out to myself and our team. Our BD team would be more than happy to talk with you as well, too.
And I think I yapped on long enough, but I do appreciate y'all indulging me in my little mini rants there, and can't wait for the next one.
Awesome. Echo that. Hey, it was a pleasure, gentlemen. Hopefully see you all soon, maybe out on the floors in the streets in Vegas at RE Plus coming up. All right, Solar World, take care. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Bye.